Now we will be talking about DHCP, or the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Before moving on to the Wireshark packet analysis and capture, let's make some facts clear about this protocol. So it is used to dynamically assign IP addresses to devices on a network. It uses UDP, the User Datagram Protocol, and not TCP. UDP port 67 is the destination port of the DHCP server, while UDP port 68 is the port used by the client. There are actually five main stages of DHCP, which includes the release state, but we'll be talking about the four most important ones over here: the discover, offer, request, and acknowledge. So these messages, as you can see over here, are either sent from the client or from the server. Messages sent from the server are always unicast in nature, because it already knows the IP address and the MAC address of the client, since the client always has to make the request for the DHCP server. Since the client does not know if a DHCP server exists on the network, messages that are sent from the client are always broadcast in nature. The DHCP discover message is sent from the client. It is broadcast in nature, since at this point it does not know the if a DHCP server even exists, and the IP address of and the MAC address of the DHCP server could be unknown. So this is a broadcast message that is sent from the client to the network to see if there are any DHCP servers that are willing to lend it an IP address. The next is the offer message. When a DHCP server receives the DHCP discover message from a client, basically a client is asking for an IP address, it makes an offer by sending the DHCP offer message to the client. This message will contain the client's MAC address, the IP address that the server is willing to offer, the subnet mask, and the leased duration, meaning how long is that IP address going to be leased out for. It could be 1 hour, it could be 1 day, and this information is all sent in a unicast, because the server already knows the exact IP address and the MAC address of the client, since it received the client's discover message. In response to the offer message made by the server, the client responds with a DHCP request message, which is also broadcast in nature. So basically, it is saying to the server that it willingly accepts the IP address and the subnet masks that the server has provided it. And finally, the acknowledge message, which is sent from the server. This is the final phase of the DHCP configuration, and any other information that is required from the client, like the lease duration, is sent to the client, and the IP configuration process is basically complete from after the acknowledge state. To fully capture the DHCP information, we will first have to release the current compute of its own DHCP configurations. So before doing that, we can open up a command prompt. So it's quite simple: Windows R, CMD, it's all open, and you can start Wireshark and select the Ethernet adapter that you're currently using. And okay, so while that runs on the background, you can enter these commands in: ipconfig / release and ipconfig / renew. So just wait until the procedures are performed by the command prompt, and now you can stop the capture of packets on Wireshark. So what these commands do is, the release command basically sends a request to the DHCP server to release the information that is currently associated with this client, and basically the renew command tells the current network adapter to obtain the new parameters. So now we can go ahead and analyze the DHCP packets in detail. On the Wireshark packet capture, enter DHCP in the filter area, and once you hit the enter key, you will see 5 types of message. So the release message is the basically what happens when we enter in IP config release and renew. It is sent from, as you can see, the IP. This is the IP address of my computer to the default gateway, and it is not broadcast in nature. It is a unicast, since at this stage the computer already knows the location of the DHCP server. And as you can see, the protocol used is UDP. So user datagram protocol, source port is 68 since that's the UDP port for DHCP, and the destination port is 67. So it is basically telling the DHCP server to release all of the information associated with this client. So now that the DHCP information has been released from the server end, and the client has also renewed its parameters, the client is without an IP address. So now, as you can see, a DHCP discover message is being sent. The source is all zeros, the IP address is all zeros because the client does not have an IP address yet. So, but the destination you can see is all 255.255.255.255. Basically, it is a broadcast message. It is just sending this out across the entire network and seeing if a DHCP server is going to make an offer with an IP address. So you can see the broadcast even from the MAC address and is all Fs. The source is actually you can pull up the physical address of my computer. It is 0202D60336630. So it is indeed from from my computer. It's a broadcast, and yep, it is a DHCP message. And as even over here, there is no source IP address because the source IP it does not have an IP address yet. The destination IP address is all a broadcast. And if you look at the UDP protocol, the source port is 68 since it's being sent by the client, and the destination port is 67 as previously discussed, which is the destination port of the DHCP server. And if you look at the protocol in more detail, you can see that it is indeed a discover message which is being sent via IPv4. Now we will be talking about the DHCP offer message. So the DHCP offer message is basically a unicast. It is sent from the server or the DHCP server to the client that requested it. So as you can see, the source address is the IP address of my default gateway. So you can see over here that the default gateway has indeed offered an IP address, and the destination address is 192.168.42.59, which is actually the IPv4 address of my current Ethernet adapter. So the problem over here is that if the destination already has an IP address in the next DHCP message which is sent from the client, why is it all zeros? Why isn't this IP address being used over here? So over here we have to closely look at the boot P flag. So when the boot P flag is set to unicast, it means that the destination IP in the offer message is actually set to the client IP from the server side. So the server has already decided that this is the IP address 192.168.42.59 that's going to be offered to the client, and it has even used that IP address when sending out the DHCP offer message. But the client has not fully accepted it, which is why in the next message you might see 0.0.0.0. So let's just look at the DHCP offer message in a little more detail. As you can see, this is the MAC address of the default gateway, and this is the MAC address of my computer. So it is indeed a unicast message sent from the server to my computer. The destination, yep, my computer, and as you can see, source port is 67, confirming that it is indeed sent by the server. The destination port is 68, which is the DHCP port which is used by the client. Analyzing the IPv4 in detail, you can see that the source is the default gateway that my computer is currently connected to, and the destination is basically it is offering the IP address 192.168.42.59. As you can see, we can confirm some more information over here, and it is indeed an offer message, and the boot P flag is set to unicast. The server is directly making contact with this client and has already decided on which the IP address that it's going to lease out, but from the client's end we might have not fully confirmed that we are indeed going to accept this IP address. So we can move on to the next DHCP message now. Coming up to the DHCP request message, you can see that the source IP address is still 0 since the client has not fully agreed and confirmed to upon using a certain IP address. The destination address being R255 means that it is a broadcast message. So what the request does is basically in response to the offer made by a server, this message is broadcast basically requesting the offered IP address. So in the case of multiple DHCP servers, it can receive multiple DHCP offers, but it will only accept one. So basically, looking at this packet in more detail, you can see that it is the source MAC address is my computer's MAC address, and the broadcast is all Fs, indicating it is propagated throughout the entire network. And the source IP address is still zeros because the client has not agreed upon, client and server has not come to the final agreement that it's going to use a specific IP address. The destination IP address is all 255s, meaning it's a broadcast message. And yep, source port 68 confirming that it is sent by the client, and the destination port 67, meaning that which is the UDP port of the DHCP server. And this is indeed, you can see a request message, and the client IP address is still 0.0.0.0. So now we can move on to the final DHCP message, which is the acknowledge message. Now we will be analyzing the final message, which is involved in a DHCP transaction. So you can see it is the acknowledge message. As you can see, it is a unicast message sent from the server to the client. And yep, this is the IP default MAC address of my default gateway, and this is the MAC address of my computer, which you can see over here. So IP config. Oh, you can see that, yep, this MAC address and this MAC address matches, meaning it was specifically sent for my computer. And even the IPv4 protocol, this is the IP address of the default gateway, while which is also my DHCP server. As you can see over here, the default gateway and the DHCP server, they are all in one. So, and the destination IP address is the one IP address which is currently associated to my computer. So as you can see, further confirm looking at the UDP, source port is 67, which matches the DHCP server, while the destination port is 68, which matches the DHCP client. It is the acknowledge message. So this is basically any configuration information, the IP lease time, the lease renewal period, all of the final information is sent. And basically, once at this stage the IP configuration process is completed, and now the client has an fixed IP address which needs to be renewed if there is a lease time or renewal period. So this formally ends the current DHCP process. Thank you for your time.